1923, the TV series. It's part of the Yellowstone universe. If you've seen any of that, you kind of understand the Dutton family is the centerpiece of this Western story created and done by Taylor Sheridan with Kevin Costner. And the prequel series, 1883, the link will be in the description for you to check that out. Also, you can get a couple of my kind of like random thought videos about Yellowstone itself. I didn't do like an episodic breakdown or anything like that. I may go back and revisit that with a stream or something like that, especially when the new or the final half of season 5 actually materializes. Also, I may go back and do an episodic review or a breakdown of episodes for 1923 when the second half of it materializes as well, because this series is sort of like cut in half. Like it's like season 1, season 2, I guess. I mean, it's sort of like the way Yellowstone is. Yellowstone is kind of season 1, season 2 is 1, season 3, season 4 is 1, and then it leads into 5, which has been separated again. So it's again, the Dutton family is great. The family has moved across the country from Tennessee and Texas all the way out west, and they land where they're going to bury Elsa. She was the narrator from 1883, which, by the way, is one of my biggest negatives of the show. Is the narrator has passed away. Why is she the narrator? That makes no sense in storytelling. It's one of my pet peeves. I have issues. But Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren are the stars of this show. And then there is Brendan Sklenar. How do you say his last name? Sklenar. He plays Spencer. Spencer is probably the best character in the whole series. Helen Mirren's great. I don't want to diss on Helen Mirren. It is weird with her sort of over-the-top Irish accent. She's believable, but it's almost like overzealously done. And then, of course, Harrison Ford has no accent whatsoever. Anyway, so the show is centered on where the family is now. It's very quick to get through like what happened to the family. So James and his family go across the country. At that point, the only child that would have survived, because Elsa had perished, that leaves James as the dad. And this is the oldest brother, which is played by Harrison Ford. His name is Jacob. And then it's James's grandson is Jack. So you have this family tree, and what basically what's happened is the mom and the kid, they had another kid, and they basically were going to die and freeze it. So they'd written these letters for the older brother to come and save them. They arrive, they find that mom is dead, but the boy's saved, that kind of thing. So that's pretty much the backstory of where we're at with this. And as far as I can tell, I don't think, let me pull that up. I know I have notes. They don't have any children of their own, right? So Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford, Jacob and Kara, they have no kids of their own. They raise John and Spencer. So Spencer has left. He's over doing World War I. He's in Africa. He's like kick butt Chad, man. He knows how to hunt wild game. He's just living this sort of like, the bad boy of that time, right? And he meets a free thinking, British lady, and that's how that story is going to go. Okay. And at home, you end up with the same type of stuff that you saw previously, because now we're in the middle of a drought. We're in the middle of like Prohibition stuff. And of course, Montana's being affected with the stock market crash and is coming right around the corner. So all that stuff that's in this era is what you're seeing in the land deal. And then this incredible struggle with a ruthless sheep herder that just ignores all of the rules. And then this ultimately brings in another antagonist, played by Timothy Dalton, he's fantastic, by the way. He's like a business tycoon, and he's just going to do what he wants to do and get his way. Then there is another backstory that is almost like oddly shoehorned in because it doesn't seem to connect to everything else. I actually like the story, and it's about her name is Tiana Rainwater, and she's the Indian heir to rainwater that we see in the Yellowstone series, but it's happening simultaneously, but it's far away. Like the nuns are abusive, the priests are abusive, everyone's corrupt and violent. It's just crazy stuff's happening because this Catholic boarding school full of nuns treat these American Indians just absolutely awful, right? Just horrible, and just the show is really designed to have a lot of commentary on this era and things that they're doing. I mean, Taylor Sheridan really likes to shine a light on these types of elements of our history, but he's not doing it, I think, from a woke perspective or to make us feel guilty. It's the fact that these things just don't get talked about. I think Ben Richardson does a great job directing. I think he directed most of the episodes. He and Taylor Sheridan work together very, very well. There's a couple. Who's the other director? Guy Ferland. Guy Ferland also directed a couple episodes as well. Um, so what I like and what I didn't like is it. Let's just walk through let's walk through the footage first. Let's do that. Let's walk through some of the footage first, and then I'll come back to what I like and didn't like. Everything is okay. I think that it didn't seem as believable with Harrison Ford and running forming the committee and sort of all there's our villain sheep herder guy. These type of things, them screaming and yelling at each other, and they give Jacob like the white hat and stuff. I don't know. I just felt like I'm watching Harrison Ford cosplay as a cowboy rather than be a cowboy. Is how I felt. If that makes sense, does that make? I mean, I don't know if that makes sense to everybody else. And it is, and it's funny how like the white hat isn't kind of odd and it looks normal here, but then when you get to the other scene, it does feel weird. Anyway, there's just and the recap footage and trailer footage, a lot of this stuff was very, very dark, and hard to see at times. And Jacob is very violent. He treats this guy very badly. He's basically taking advantage of his authority as well. So I like all this, but in the middle of all this back and forth in this battle, you end up with Jacob getting shot. He's injured at one point, nearly dies. And that creates some more conflict and struggles. So there's a lot of death and dismay that is definitely taking place, as well as the loss of a family heir. Like there's no one else to deal with all this stuff, right? Let me see what else I wanted to highlight real quick here. That yeah, I just want to say that I just really enjoyed most of the characters, most of the development. Yeah, this is John Dutton Sr. He's the eldest son from before. James Badge Dale is very, very believable, and actually, I wish that there was more of him. I wish we had more of him in all of this. This is Spencer with the English gal, and they end up trapped up a tree with a lion. All this stuff was great. The biggest issue with all of this was just that it just took too long. You're waiting for Spencer to get there. Here's Timothy Dalton as that business tycoon, and this is her. Now, this is part of the Yellowstone universe that's kind of like they want to have it both ways because they want to play up women are oppressed and aren't given opportunities and they're not leaders. The men are in charge, blah, blah. And then you have things like this where she's relegated and pushed right to the spotlight and she shines. So they kind of want their cake and eat it too. They want both things to be true at the same time. And it does sometimes not always flow well. It works in the show because Helen Mirren is so good. She is so good. Yeah, this is them trying to get home because the letter eventually gets to Spencer. They get married on like a boat and it capsizes. It's crazy stuff happens, right? This is him recovering and all that kind of stuff. She ends up taking more center stage and then kind of put into the limelight to face off against the Timothy Dalton character, more so than Harrison Ford's relegated to like bed rest and stuff. But everything is so well done. even with the shortcomings. So here's one of the crazy preach things with they're basically hunting down Tiana, and it's really so absurd on its face. They would waste the resources to track down this girl, and one of them would be put in harm's way, which leads to violence, and one of them gets killed. And I don't know. I think it's all fine and it works. It's strange because it's like happening at the same contemporaneously, but not. There's no reason for it to overlap. This entire setup story with Spencer and getting the girl and this guy just being a complete douchebag and all of that just got a little too tedious for me and just drug out too long. I didn't dislike any of it. I just wanted things to move along. So, like, of the 8 episodes, I really needed this to just kind of get, because really when the season ends, nothing's really resolved. Spencer really isn't home. He's been separated from his woman. um, Jacob and them have been presented that Timothy Dalton has taken care of like their tax bill basically, so he'll get everything if it's not paid back by the end of the year or whatever. And they're in the middle of like major economic downturn and all that. Great performances, great set design, all the stuff that you expect from Yellowstone 1883 are here delivered. And some people will definitely say that 1923 is their favorite. I get it. I would love to see more with Robert Patrick as the sheriff. I don't quite understand the sheriff's role. They don't always sort of like flush out the power struggle. It's easier for us to get that with Yellowstone because of modern sensibilities, but it's not as easy to understand how things were being, because some of the stuff didn't exist. They were creating it as they went. And we have this scene where the board creates this, police force that we see later with Yellowstone. But we should have had a better conversation about some of that, or kind of had some thing flushed out a little bit better. It's not horrible. It's not fantastically done. That's all. So yeah, that's my general take on it. Like I said, when we get news of when 1923 Part Two, Season Two, whatever they call it, then I'll maybe probably go back, maybe revisit it, maybe do more of a dive deep, maybe do a panel discussion. Those kinds of things be kind of fun. I don't know what you guys think. I know many of you have recommended the show and these shows. I know I want to give a hat tip to Matt, the unbearable 73, the Tad that shouldn't be. Thank you, brother, for recommending it and getting me down this rabbit hole, because it was a great watch. I really did have a good time, and I'm glad that I was able to get to this and sock it away. It's something that was really good, fun to watch. So that's my take. Love to hear from you guys. I am Pops.